The line I drew. It was supposed to be a typical Thursday evening. Nothing extravagant, just a low-key gathering. My wife, Melissa, had volunteered to host her company's quarterly dinner at our home this time. Apparently, her manager suggested moving away from the usual upscale restaurant scene in favor of something more personal and comfortable. I didn't object. Our place was well suited for entertaining. An open-concept layout, a warmly lit dining space, and a backyard that could easily pass for a magazine spread, complete with a fire pit and soft string lights I'd hung myself the summer before. To be honest, I wasn't exactly thrilled at the idea of spending an entire night mingling with her coworkers, people I barely knew and, frankly, didn't have much in common with. But this meant something to Melissa. She told me she wanted her colleagues to finally meet me, to see the man she spent so much of her life talking about. She said, "I want them to see how great you are, how lucky I am." That mattered to me. So I agreed. I spent the entire day prepping. I cleaned the kitchen until it gleamed, vacuumed every rug, made sure the guest bathroom had fresh towels and candles, arranged the backyard furniture just right, and set up the heater since the evening would be chilly. I stocked the bar, double-checked the music playlist, and kept refreshing the ice. Melissa coordinated with the caterers and made the final decorative touches, a mix of autumnal florals and candles that flickered gently as twilight fell. By early evening everything was set. Soft jazz trickled from the speakers, the fire pit crackled warmly, and the lights bathed the yard in a golden glow. Around 6, the first guests arrived, dressed nicely, polite, engaging enough. I shook hands, made conversation, smiled when introduced as Melissa's husband, and slipped comfortably into the role of supportive partner and host. Then he arrived. Jason. He didn't knock. Didn't ring the bell. He just walked in from the side patio as if he owned the place, drink already in hand. I recognized him vaguely from previous work events. Always the loudest in the room, always the one talking over people, laughing too hard at his own jokes. Late 30s, slick haircut, shiny watch, the kind of guy who believes charm is measured by volume. He greeted Melissa with a hug that lingered a beat too long enough to make me feel it in my stomach. She pulled away quickly, her smile a little too tight. She introduced us again. "You remember my husband, Daniel?" Jason gave me a half smirk, smug and dismissive. "Oh yeah, the mysterious Daniel." He said it like a punchline, like some inside joke I wasn't in on. I let it go, for Melissa's sake. But even in that moment I knew something was off. As the evening unfolded, people relaxed. Laughter flowed, drinks poured freely, and conversations circled around work anecdotes, weekend plans, and harmless gossip. Everyone seemed to be enjoying themselves. Everyone except Jason, who seemed to believe he was the evening's main attraction. With each drink, he got louder, more obnoxious, more invasive. He interrupted people, one-upped every story, and laced his compliments toward Melissa with a tone that was neither respectful nor appropriate. "She's the real MVP of the team," he said at one point, voice thick with innuendo, eyes not quite on her face. "Best thing this company's got going for it." He chuckled as if daring someone to call him out. No one did. Not her manager. Not her colleagues. Just forced smiles and glances toward their drinks. And then it happened. It was around 9 p.m. Most of the group had moved indoors, scattered in clusters between the living room and kitchen island, holding wine glasses and small plates. Jason, by now on his 5th or 6th whiskey, decided to make himself the center of attention again. He raised his voice over the hum of conversation and pointed a sloppy finger at me. "Daniel's a lucky man," he slurred, loud enough to silence the room. "I mean seriously, Melissa, your wife is way too hot for him." A few awkward laughs escaped, but mostly the room just froze. Melissa's face flushed. Her posture stiffened. She looked down at her drink, embarrassed, humiliated. Jason, oblivious or indifferent, kept going. "Honestly, half the guys at work want her. Some of the girls too, I bet." That was it. The air in the room turned to stone. Glasses stopped mid-sip. Conversations died. And still nobody said a thing. Not her manager. Not even the women. Just silence. So I stood up. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't puff out my chest. I just walked over to him slowly, my footsteps loud in the quiet room. People parted instinctively, clearing a path. Jason looked up at me, still smirking like this was all some game. I locked eyes with him. "Say that again," I said, voice low but steady. He chuckled. "Relax, man. I'm just saying what everyone's thinking." And that's when I slapped him. Not out of rage. Not with a closed fist. Just a clean, sharp, open-handed slap. Measured and deliberate. It rang out like a gunshot. His glass slipped from his hand and shattered on the hardwood. He stumbled back into the table, knocking over a vase. Gasps rippled through the room. His face turned red, more with shock than pain, as he struggled to gather himself. I didn't give him the chance. I stepped forward, took him by the arm, and guided him firmly toward the front door. "You need to leave. Now." He tried to protest, but I cut him off. Louder this time. "Get out of my house. Before I forget you were ever a guest." He staggered out, silent, the door closing behind him with a heavy finality. When I turned back around, the room was still. Every face trained on me. But I wasn't looking at them. I found Melissa. Her eyes were wide, her hand trembling slightly around her glass. But there was something else in her expression too. Relief. Gratitude. Pride. She crossed the room to me, slipped her hand into mine and whispered, "Thank you." Things were different after that night. In the days that followed, Melissa got a wave of messages. Apologies from some. Quiet thank yous from others. Turns out Jason had a history. Off-color jokes, inappropriate comments, but no one had ever spoken up until now. Char got involved. Jason took a leave of absence. Some even wondered if he'd return at all. People kept talking about that night. Not because I caused a scene, but because someone finally did something. I didn't act out of pride or ego. I didn't slap him to be the hero of the evening. I did it because there are lines you do not cross. And when everyone else stays silent, someone has to draw that line. That night I stood up, not just for Melissa but for our dignity. For the respect we owe each other as people. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat.